Hi, welcome to Essential Talks. I'm your host, Jamie Russo, and we have the two lovely co hosts, Jessica and Kimberly. Today's date is September the 13th, and we're in episode two.
So, for the first thing that we're going to talk about today, recently, it was about a week and a half ago, I had uh, what had happened was actually is someone had posted in our We're All Essential chat. We always keep each other informed. And someone had posted an image of the Toronto Star, the front page. And above the fold, it was an article talking about, actually, I would, to be completely honest, it wasn't even an article. It wasn't even quotations. It was literally just statements saying about how unvaccinated people deserve to die. They shouldn't have hospital beds. They're getting what they're asking for, that kind of a thing. And honestly terrifying. Seeing it was just it really made your heart race, especially as somebody who has a firm stance against not necessarily vaccines in general, but just this particular um, this particular jab. And so yes, so just wanted to open the floor to talking about that. In a few minutes here, we'll play that recording, but just so yeah. So what I had done was once that was put into the chat, somebody had mentioned about that this is against the criminal code in terms of hate speech, and that people needed to call the police and report this and have justice served. And so I've called a non-emergency number for police before. I've done this a couple of times whenever we ran into a situation in our group where we didn't know how to move forward in terms of our positioning within the law. And so I called the Toronto police. I wanted to see what was up. And so I first spoke with I don't know, dispatch, I think it was, or somebody. It was an officer, but not a very high up one. And she didn't know what to do and how to handle it. And so I spoke with an actual detective, and that's the recording that we'll be looking at in a bit here. But again, just wanting to open up the floor to how both of you felt when you saw this image in our chat
Uh,
on the 26th.
I think what we should do is show the front page of the Toronto Star at this moment. This way, everybody can remember what it was that they did, and this way it'll refresh their memory. So I believe that Toronto Star's date was August the 26th of 2021, and this is where the phone call that Jessica wound up calling the Toronto Police Department. This is what it was about and where it's headed and going to. So when I first saw that article, I thought it was disgusting. It was basically segregating and putting us into a realm or arena that we don't need to be in segregation for the start of a two-tier society. So I was pretty overwhelmed, and that set me back. I could not believe that one of our papers was literally promoting hatred to a group of people for the decisions that they were making. So, and making it that it was health based and that it was okay to hate. And this should never be done for any decisions that you make, whether it's religious decisions, fashion, sexuality, gender, or anything else. Nobody should ever segregate you in any form of the way and dictate any form of hatred. That's how I felt when I saw it. I was disgusted.
Yeah, for me, I think I felt a little bit on both sides, to be honest. Did I think it was irresponsible, unethical, and unprofessional? 100%. Was I surprised by it though? Absolutely not. This is mainstream media. It's they've been doing this on television for a while now. We need to remember it's also in print and radio too. So I don't know the exact number, but it's been thrown out a few times. I believe the Canadian government pays the media up to $700 million annually to broadcast what they're told to. So it wasn't a big surprise to me personally. I think what kind of shook me a little bit more was when I found out the reporter specializes in mental health. She's a mental health reporter. And I just didn't think that someone who cares about mental health should be incorporating the truth behind it as well and all sides of it. And that is, many people can't get vaccinated because of health concerns or religious beliefs as well. And just the truth that being vaccinated in Canada is not mandatory, and we need to stop normalizing this. And I just felt like it was so one sided. And even the PCR testing is unlawful, right? Under, I think it's Bill S-201. So I feel like as a mental health reporter, it should have been summarized, showcasing all sides as well as the truth. Never would you see an article on the front page of the Toronto Star of what the unvaccinated think of the vaccinated, right? It doesn't follow the narrative. So yeah, those were my initial thoughts.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So yeah, and Jessica is going to get right into what her thoughts are. I'll let her do that, and then we're going to show the video in just a second. This way, she can express what her initial feelings were and what promoted this phone call to get the detective on the phone or the person at the police station to interact over the conversation. So go ahead, Jessica.
I wanted justice to be arbitrated. I wanted our police to do the job that we pay them for. We pay a lot in taxes towards the police. They're paid a handsome amount. I mean, at the same time too, they deal with a lot of things that, like I said, as a member of the public, I have no intention of becoming a police officer. I have even just the slightest idea of what they deal with, and I know that I couldn't handle that myself. So I do have a lot of respect for them in terms of what they're up against, especially through the media and the hate that they've gotten, and how difficult that does make it to be able to do your job on a daily basis. But at the same time too, if you're going to selectively arbitrate the law, that is a dangerous, slippery slope. And so what prompted me to do so was seeing that an above the fold opinion piece in a well-publicized paper that is viewed by hundreds of thousands, if not at this point millions of people, because it was able to be posted online, was able to make such claims that were not quotations, that were, as far as I'm concerned, her opinion. But it couldn't. But at the same time, too, stated in a way where it makes it sound as if this is the feelings of the general public. It's a misrepresentation of societal feelings, and it is a promotorate of hatred. And I especially once I saw the criminal code for that, I was like, well, this is unacceptable. And so I had already called the newspaper, and they conveniently don't have anyone you can physically talk to. It was a voicemail, which I'm sure that they listen to all the time and make sure to keep on top of. And so I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to call somebody. I want to know how this is actually allowed. And if it's not allowed, what they're actually going to do about this. Because if they're able to do this now, what are they going to be able to do in the future? This is, again, a slippery slope. We all know where this heads. We've seen this before historically. So let's be honest here. So I called them, and I spoke with a lady first, and I tried to explain to her that why this was not allowed, why this was against the criminal code, and she kind of pushed back a bit. But I had some very well worded stances for her, and so she didn't know how to answer that or how to get around that, and so she put me on hold a few times, speaking to who turns out to be the detective that I actually got the recording of. During that time period, I was in, again, total communication with the Royal Central Chat. They were able to provide me with the author of the article, which again, I do apologize, I don't have that on hand. Easy enough to look up, but they were with me the whole time, and somebody was just like, "Are you recording this?" And I said, I didn't think so, and I didn't think to do it. So I quickly got out my laptop and threw it on record. So we'll probably cut out the beginning first. I think it's like 5 minutes of me being on hold music, but then so ensues my conversation with the officer, and so yes, we'll play that clip right now, and I'll give you my thoughts on it afterwards.
Okay, so that we're about to play the clip of Jessica and discussing the matter of the front page of the Toronto Star with the officer. So here is the clip, and enjoy.
55 CIB, Constable Smith.
Hi, I'm looking for assistance on this. Did the previous person explain to you the situation?
Yeah, just briefly. I guess there was an article in the Star about vaccinated and unvaccinated people.
Yes. So basically the article, and it was saying things like, I honestly don't care if they die from COVID, not a bit. Unvaccinated patients do not deserve ICU beds. I have no empathy left for willfully unvaccinated. Let them die. So things like that. Now, again, if this is
this like an editorial, or were they quoting somebody?
It's a front page. It does not show any quotes in particular. It's literally just stated as is, like that. There's no quotations or anything. And so because of that, I have no idea if it's personal opinion, if it's quotes from others. But as far as I know, that this is on the front page. This is a front page article. And so the fact that this is fomenting hate. This is willfully publishing a willful promotion of hatred. And so it's communicated statement. It's not a private conversation. This is a public forum. And so it's like they are, and especially too in a position as an author in the Toronto Star to be on the front page, it's a position of authority. And so and willfully promoting hatred against an identifiable group, as in the not vaccinated. So this is illegal. Like this is this is promotion of hatred.
That's the problem with COVID stuff. Like every day is something we're venturing where we've never been before, right?
I understand.
With COVID, and I mean, a lot of people. This is dividing people, right? It's not, and I think it's been explained to you. It's not under the criminal code considered hate crime, but it's definitely a divisive article, like a divisive that's separating people's beliefs, right? It's like politics, COVID, like you name it.
Will you agree that this is promoting hatred?
I wouldn't say it's promoting hatred. It's dividing. Like I mean, I'm going through it, in my workplace. I think everybody's going through it, where you got vaccinated and unvaccinated people, and they're almost like pitted against each other.
So,
because of people's opinions.
But I don't understand how it couldn't be considered promotion of hatred when they're saying that they deserve to die, like they should be dying, like we shouldn't be admitting the people to hospital because of a choice that they've made. That is a promotion of hatred. And under this under the criminal code, like it's very clear, like it's an indictable offense, imprisonment, punishable as summary conviction. Like this is something.
I would be complaining to the Star about it.
Well, but I mean, like at the same time too, I already have complained to them. I'm sure they've received lots of complaints, but that doesn't stop the fact that they are defying the criminal code right now by writing articles like that. Like they're supposed to be if it really is coming from an even keel kind of thing, where is the aspect of like, I don't wish to do this. This is against my conscience. Against my religion. Medically. So it's not taking both sides of it. It's taking one specific side, and it's against one other side.
But that's what the Toronto Star does, right? Like I'm not a Toronto Star fan, and that's what the Toronto Star does. They have their opinion, and they feel that it's right, and everybody else's is wrong.
So they're allowed to publish whatever they feel like, even if it is promotion of hatred, because they are a media company.
It's not promotion of hatred because they're not. I understand. I hear where you're coming from about this COVID stuff, but because this is all new to everybody, because somebody's either choosing to be vaccinated or not, they're not considered a designated group or or something of that nature where it would be considered hate crime.
So if I was to say that Jewish people don't deserve hospital beds because of the religion that they chose, you know what I mean? Like that's.
Well, yeah, but then you're diving into the hate aspect of it.
But that's what I mean. So,
Jewish people.
but that's what I mean. So this is against unvaccinated people. So I don't understand what the difference is. Just because that's a religion, it's still you're still willfully promoting hatred against an identifiable group. Identifiable group. They are saying specifically unvaccinated people. That is identifiable group. And so
it's not. That's not considered an identifiable group. That's just people that choosing not to get vaccinated. They're not an identifiable group like the color of their skin or the way they dress or where they live or.
When they have like a digital ID. So when we have a digital ID, and that's not going to be considered identifiable because.
That's down the road. We don't know what's going to happen with all that stuff.
Still, this is the beginning of it, and this is how it becomes a thing. So at this point in time, it's like. This is not. I know. I get what you're saying, but and even regardless of the fact that it's new territory, it doesn't matter. It's still a violation of the criminal code, and they're going to stand by. So basically, the police force is going to stand by and do nothing against this. Is that correct?
No, it's what I'm telling you is it's not a violation against the criminal code. The paper is they give opinion articles all the time on everything. And they're allowed to do that.
Yes, but
and they're because they are not because you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's not a designated group. That's just somebody's vaccinated and somebody's unvaccinated. They're not saying black, brown, Asian, white, whatever. They're just saying vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Yes, but that's still a grouping of people. That's still a way to identify a group of people.
But they don't know. You don't know how. I can't walk down the street and know who's vaccinated.
I can't walk down the street and know who's Catholic or Jewish.
You can?
No, I said I don't. I have no idea what religion someone is. So, but I can still. But if I said that Jewish people can't have hospital beds, that's considered an identifiable group.
Yes, exactly.
So you're agreeing with me, the fact that because they can't walk down the street and know who's religious, it's the same thing as vaccinated.
No, what I'm saying is if you pick a group such as Jewish people or Asian people or black people or brown people, that's a designated group. Vaccinated and unvaccinated is not a designated group.
So is religion a designated group?
Sorry?
Is religion a designated group?
Religion is part of the hate crime.
Yes.
The criminal code. Yes.
So I can't walk down the street and know what religion somebody is based off the way they look. So same thing with vaccinated. So that's what I'm trying to say is that just because this is new territory doesn't mean that it doesn't stop the fact that this is willfully promoting hatred against an identifiable group. It is identifiable. It's same as the way you would say with religion. Like if it's just based off the way someone looks, you can't.
The problem with these papers, and the Toronto Star has a very big legal department that ensures that they're putting out stuff that isn't breaching certain laws, and I know this for a fact. So if you complain to them about something and you feel something, then they will either retract it or they will stand by what they posted. But it's not an offense under the criminal code where we would investigate it or lay charges.
So basically, they're able to say whatever they want, and if they overstep themselves, all they have to do is retract it, and no harm, no fault. Yet someone like myself vows to say something against any particular group of people in a public setting, I could get charged with a hate crime if I'm inciting violence.
You're inciting violence against a certain group, yes, but not people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's not a designated group.
So if I say that all vaccinated people should die and that they shouldn't be given hospital beds if they get sick from COVID because they chose to take the vaccine, do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm not going to have any troubles at all with that.
We're in unprecedented times right now, and unfortunately people are saying that stuff, and there's nothing that can be done about it. If you make a direct threat towards a certain person, like, I want you to die or something like that, and you're pointing a finger at them, then that's one thing. But if you're just making a general term of your opinion on people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated, that's not a crime. Okay,
so if I was to say, just like in this, for example, in this post, like they say, unvaccinated people should die, or like they deserve to die. they're allowed to say that because they're not pointing the finger at anyone specific and saying, you, Jim, over there, you're unvaccinated, therefore you should die.
Well, in what context is this comment anyways? I mean, I haven't seen it. I haven't heard anything about it. Nobody's called me about this.
About the Toronto Star article?
Yeah. This is the first I've heard about it.
If you go and look at their front page, man, I'm telling you, it's terrifying. If this is the kind of stuff that they're fomenting, this is only the beginning. This is how this kind of stuff starts. I don't know if you know history at all about what happened in Nazi Germany, but it didn't just start with death camps. It started with this kind of stuff. This is a slippery slope, man, and it goes places.
That's why I don't read the Toronto Star.
No, I know, but it's still, this is, I mean, look, how much viewership do they have? How many people are going to start to think, you know what? Yeah, these people should die. And how much further down the path does that take until they're saying, where the hell are these camps? Where are the camps so we can put these people, so we can put them away? This is where it heads.
But this starts with the federal government and works all the way down. So the federal government is dividing people on this issue, and it's just filtering all the way down to the papers. I
understand, but I mean, like I said, like our tax dollars go towards a police force that is not run by, well, I mean, like I guess it's paid by the federal government, but still they're supposed to uphold our constitutional rights and the criminal code, and we depend on
to follow the law of the criminal code, and this is not a hate crime. This is a paper that's giving out a very opinionated article on a very heated topic that's in the news right now, and it's dividing a lot of people. So you're going to see a lot of articles like this, especially coming up with all this passport talk and people's opinions. You're going to see a lot of this stuff, and unfortunately, it's going to get messy. So your first avenue should be to complain to the Toronto Star and their legal department about this article, and try to get more people on your side. That the more people that complain about it, the better.
I know. We look.
I understand you're upset, and I hear what you're saying. It's not a nice article. People have to respect everybody's thoughts on this issue, and
it's different when you're in a position of authority. It's different than when you're in a position of authority. If there was a politician standing up there saying unvaccinated people shouldn't get hospital beds and they should die, you know what I mean? Like, it has sway. It's different than Joe Schmo standing on the street corner on a soapbox. So it's just, yeah.
And
that's disappointing.
What's going to make this all even worse is because of the election coming up, right? Like, this is a huge election topic, so it's just going to get even worse.
Well, like I said, I'm disappointed that this is not something that can be handled the way that it in all honesty, the way that the criminal code is laid out, it's pretty clear. If you identify a group of people, it's an identifiable group of people, regardless of whether or not you can actually visibly see what identity they are. It's still an identifiable group of people, and this is inciting hatred. So I mean, like, you can try to turn it however you want and saying that it's a new territory, but it's still. This is what it is. So
what it is it's not an identifiable group, right? They're not, and that's my thing is it's between vaccinated and unvaccinated people. You know, it's like if it's the same as like the abortion topic, or people getting flu vaccines every year. Like, it's
what qualifies something to become identifiable?
Sorry?
What are the specifications for something to become identifiable? So to be considered an identifiable group,
I think the officer downstairs actually read the criminal code to you, did she not?
So she had, I don't know which criminal code that she was reading, but I'm looking at it right now on the Justice Law's website. And she had tried to say that it included a certain grouping of people, race, religion, disability, things like that. But I mean, again, I don't know where she's reading that off of, because I have in here, I'm looking at it right now, and it does not mention anything about race, religion, or anything like that in here. So it's just saying an identifiable group of people, but it's not exactly saying what quantifies a group of people to be considered identifiable. So that's why I was asking, what exactly are the qualifications to be considered identifiable?
Well, I'm going to bring it up here, and because I'm just going off the top of my head from dealing with these issues, but I'm going to bring it up like she did, and I'll read it out to you.
Sure.
So an identifiable group, according to the Criminal Code, is distinguished by color, race, religion, national or ethnic origin, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or mental or physical disability.
So, sorry, what was that last bit?
Gender identity or expression.
So it goes with the gender aspect of it. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's all tied into gender.
So those are literally the only identifiable groups, period.
Yeah.
Nothing else would be considered an identifiable group.
According to the Criminal Code, this is what's considered an identifiable group. So that's what I'm saying is, like, if somebody believes in vaccinated or unvaccinated, it's not an identifiable group according to the Criminal Code.
Okay, so for example, like, and this is going to sound ridiculous, if I said all blonde people should die, we need to group together and destroy blonde people, that would not be considered an identifiable group. Therefore, I would not be considered a promotion of hate. Is that correct?
No. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very narrow point of yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, you got to go all the way up to the top to complain about that one.
Yeah.
I mean, we work within the confines of the Criminal Code. We don't deviate and make up our own laws. We just follow what's there.
Wild. That's absolutely wild, the fact that they can post that. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to start to cause some fairly aggressive public action. So I do anyways, yeah, so that this is going to step it up a bit.
The news, it's already started with vaccinated and unvaccinated people. There's quite a division. There'll be protests soon with two separate groups.
Yeah. There's probably already there. I know there is for people who don't want to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well,
I mean, this goes beyond you and I and what our thoughts are, right? Like, this is.
Excuse me. It wasn't so much based off sorry, my thoughts. It was the fact of wanting to see something done, wanting to see some justice being actually, like, applied, because it's like, it's one thing to write an article based off of, relevant to public interest, based for the public benefit, that kind of a thing. But this is like, it starts to go beyond that, and you can feel it, and it's just like you're pandering to a mob at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna get freaking crazy. So.
And the thing in too is, like, with the freedom of expression, with the Charter of Rights, is that the freedom of the press and media and communication instruments, there's a freedom of expression under Charter of Rights that unfortunately people are allowed to express their feelings and opinions as long as it doesn't cross a certain threshold. So it's.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That allows
I mean, like, I'm all for freedom.
Envelope.
I'm absolutely all for freedom. It's just that from the standpoint of seeing this type of thing, it's friggin' terrifying that they can be in a position of power like that and actually make those kind of statements, and people are going to be agreeing with them, and they're going to feel even more emboldened towards hate. So that's just that's unfortunate.
I agree. Like, I see on all different news platforms the stuff I see in the news every day, and it's like, it just seems to be that the news promotes a lot of this stuff. When you get riots and protests, it's all the media that is pushing all this stuff. Yes.
Well, I'm just basically they're creating a group that's going to be looking for any excuse to maltreat others, and it's basically just they call it righteous indignation. So anyways, thank you for your time, and thank you for the clarification on this. This was eye-opening for me.
Okay. Well, I hope you push back against the Toronto Star, and I hope you get some sort of reaction from them anyways.
Yeah, I'm sure if they retract the article, it'll be posted on the front page, like they, right. So, but yeah, fair enough. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, wow, that was a great clip. You can clearly see that and hear, actually, you could hear that Jessica is very well versed in what she was talking about. And she was asking all the right questions, and she took the officer in a very good direction, just asking for answers and how this could be done, seeing how that you couldn't do this for any other issue. If they did a front page article on religious or ethics, background, gender, or anything else, the paper would have been scrutinized for it. And you can clearly see and hear what went on. But Jessica, give us a little walkthrough of what you were thinking and how you were feeling going through that phone call conversation, and just a little detailed bit by bit for us.
So yeah, so as you could tell by the clip there, I was pretty rattled. I was pretty upset. I really called without prepping myself. I just was so incisive that I just got right on the phone with them. And so you can see the runaround that he tried to give me. He kept trying to use circular reasoning with me, which is, as you can see, it made no sense. The points that he was trying to make about unvaccinated people not being an identifiable group when it's clearly being identified as a group, it honestly, the logic was just not there. And that's why you could hear in my voice, I was becoming absolutely exasperated. I really was going to the point of frustration where I almost couldn't speak. I was just so I was basically flabbergasted that he would actually try to almost gaslight me like that in such a stupid way. And so anyways, yeah, he could make a good point. Basically wasn't providing anything of value. He was just filling the air with words that really was not meaning anything. And so he kept giving really poor examples of identifiable groups. And so again, where I was making points about, like, if I was walking down the street, how are you going to know that I'm Catholic? Like, yes, skin color, sure. Race, yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe where I come from to an extent, if that's related to race, but you can't tell my religion. And so if that's what you're looking at is like visibly identifiable, sorry. And I mean, again, not to make short of it, but like, how many disabilities are invisible? So yeah, so really, what he was trying to get at was basically, he was poorly referencing the charter. So in the charter, it talks about identifiable groups, which is basically, race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability. However, that's not how the charter is stated. So the charter, to quote it, not to put you guys through this, but we all should really be knowing this. So every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination, and in particular, without discrimination based off that list of groups. That "and in particular" part, that does not nullify the people before that point. And so it includes the people after that point in particular. And so that's where I had major issues with his statement, because again, too, those groups of people, those identifiable groups, are not the only ones that matter. An identifiable group is an identifiable group. And if you're going to discriminate against them, it still comes down to them as individuals, and you still cannot discriminate, and that's part of our charter. So as a side note, there are a number of religions that don't accept vaccinations. I mean, we can look at our Amish Mennonites, groups like that, basically, where they don't take any vaccines, period. And so now you're getting into discrimination on a religious basis. And so this is where, and we'll go into this more with some of our more talks after this, but really, I was just basically explaining to him that this was a slippery slope, because if you look back into World War II and the types of newspaper articles that were coming out at the times against against identifiable groups, basically, for people who had chosen a certain religion. Your religion is your choice at the end of the day, and so you choose what you believe in. Now, again, you can believe in it with all your heart, but it's still a choice of yours. And so that does not, so we're kind of looking at like choices as terms of identifiable groups. You can't discriminate based off of that as well too. And so this becomes a slippery slope. Like, I mean, the people who ended up going to death camps, it wasn't just Jewish people. There were people who were political dissidents, people with disabilities, people of color. They were all persecuted. And it didn't just start with herd them all to death camps. It was a slope, and it began with stuff like this. And so me trying to bring that up to him, he was really just making comments that he doesn't read the Toronto Star because of these kind of reasons. And that's all fine and dandy, but if you're going to stick your head in the sand and try to ignore these types of things, it doesn't mean that it goes away. It just means that you're not doing anything to do anything about it until it becomes something that you can't control anymore. So I was pretty upset with his position as an authoritative figure to be able to arbitrate justice and the law, and his constant attempting to pass the buck. And so basically saying, call the newspaper, complain, blaming the federal government. And it's just like, yeah, yes, but you are the arbitrator of justice here. So when are you going to arbitrate some justice? And so, yeah, so as you can tell, I was at a loss of words, especially by the end of the phone call. He didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and we just kind of ended it like that. And really, at the end of the day, it really just brings me back to there's an Aldous Huxley quote that I really like, and it's basically saying that the surest way to work up a crusade in favor of some good cause is to promise people that they will have a chance at maltreating someone. To be able to destroy with good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call your bad behavior righteous indignation, this is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. And so if we are giving people the condonement to be able to maltreat others, regardless of what it is, there will definitely be those within the public who are going to take action on that. Everybody is upset. People don't know where to direct their anger right now because the government feels like a monolithic entity that we cannot possibly penetrate and bring down. And so they're going to direct their hate at whoever they feel like they can. And if they're given a direction to turn that, like I said, we've seen this before, Nazi Germany, we know where this goes. So yeah, so now I'm going to open it up to you guys and see what you guys thought about the recording.
I just want to add to that. Because you wound up talking about the charter, so I just want to jump into the Bill of Rights. Just read one quick second, then I'll let Kimberly jump into it. And so part one of the Bill of Rights, it is hereby recognized and declared that in Canada there have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, national origin, color, religion, or sex, the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely, the right of the individual to life, liberty. So this is our liberty being infringed upon because somebody's trying to force us into doing what we don't wish to do. Security, this is security of the person, it says here, or the man or woman. So this is our security being breached by our government, being forced into a decision we do not want to have. And the enjoyment of property. Our body is our property. And if we want to enjoy it without a vaccine or with a vaccine, that's our right to do so. So when we decide not to do so and refuse or reject the vaccine, this is our right of the enjoyment of our property. And the right to be deprived thereof except by due process of law. So whenever they're going to force something on us, and this has happened through the whole Reopen Ontario Act all the way across Canada, is none of this has been done due process through Parliament. So Parliament had to make a decision to tell us what rights they were going to infringe upon and how long for. And that's what makes all of these acts 100% illegal. There you go, Kimberly. Tell us your opinion.
How do I follow that? You guys just mic drop. Kudos to Jess for filming that. I just found it fascinating that the officer kept saying it's going to get messy, it's going to get worse. You know, it's so frustrating that he's admitting he can't really do anything about it. And I was going to touch on what Jessica already did, and that is the choice thing. You know, he was saying, well, it's your choice that you're declining the vaccination. But when you look at the identifiable group or designated group, a lot of those things are choices. I love my LGBTQ community, but one of those things is sexual orientation and gender identity, right? They're choosing to identify themselves a certain way. They're choosing their expression of sexual orientation. So this is our choice for medical freedom. And it's an expression of our medical choice too. So I just feel like this needs to be a designated group ASAP. And I don't know how to get there or what the process is, but it just, we really need to see how serious this is. If you sub in the word Black, Asian, or Indian for the word unvaccinated, it becomes a whole can of worms and complete racist comment, right? Oh, I can't, I won't have Blacks enter my studio. I can't have Asians enter my studio. Do you know how racist that sounds, right? So we are, yeah, it's scary and it's messy and it's becoming a racist thing and it's very divisive. And I don't consent, and none of us do, to the segregation. And yeah, it's disgusting.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like a prelude that they're doing to normalize to the common public or society or our fellow men and women. They're trying to normalize the segregation about what is going to happen. And this is where it gets really scary, like you said. And even the officer on the phone it was almost like he was saying there's nothing he can do about it because he knows it's going to get worse and going to get more messy. And it's almost like, as I said, a prelude to what's about to happen. And this is where it gets kind of sad because us as business owners, we see just how bad this can actually get. Now, myself, I'm not going to be segregating anybody. I don't care whether you have a passport, whether you have the vax, whether you don't have the vax. Our conversation is not about you shouldn't get the vax. It's not about whether you should get the vax. It's about you should have the freedom of choice to decide whether the vaccine is good for you or not. Whether I choose not to take it or I choose to take it is really nobody's business, nor their concern. And all of those that wind up saying, you know, they've done immunization records ever since we were a kid. Well, my immunization record never stopped me from going to the corner store, never stopped me from going to school, never stopped me from buying food, never stopped me from going to a restaurant, never stopped me from going to the movies. So when you say this is the same, no, it is not. Not even close. When they're denying you access to anything because of your immunization record or your passport, it's called discrimination and segregation, period. You cannot disguise it as anything else. Let's call it what it is. And this is where us business owners need to pull together and say, no, we will not enforce this passport. This is absolutely ludicrous. It's ridiculous. And it goes against all of our fundamental, unalienable rights that we were born with. The government didn't give us the rights. These documents didn't give us the rights. These are rights we're born with, and this is how we have to proceed. Okay, so I think we kind of wrapped that topic up. And that was actually a really good discussion. I hope everybody enjoyed that recording. It was amazing how Jessica just took hold and made that phone call and helped educate a bunch of us. Sharing that video, that takes a lot of courage to be able to phone somebody and tell them what you believe is going on and trying to put the record straight. So if anything, we're able to utilize it, share it with everybody here in order for them to get a broader picture of things that are happening. So another prime example of recent events, let's talk about some of the protests that are going on. So The media has been running rampant, as they have been since the beginning, with all the protests, painting a negative light, calling everybody anti-maskers, as opposed to what the actual name is, just being human. So anti-masker, I always found that to be a ridiculous thing. Whether you're in a mask, you're out of a mask, whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, doesn't matter. It's freedom of choice. So the media has always had a really good twist and spin on any of the protests, especially the ones that are going on now. I'm not overly familiar with all of the media events because I don't typically like to watch the media as they twist things, but I do see a lot of the behind the scenes, as the average everyday Jane and Joe are making Facebook lives and Instagram lives and all of that stuff. So you're actually seeing what the full protests are and what they're all about. And that's what I really like to watch myself, as the media does spin things. And right now, the biggest protests are these passports and us helping our fellow nurse and medical community, doctors, all of our healthcare workers, and now our police departments are under threat. Fire departments, all of them. So this is where we really have to pull together, get into these protests, show them that we support them, and try and back them any way we can. And as small business owners, we can back them as well by refusing to enforce these passports. So let's look at a couple of the footages we have of some of the protests. And the biggest one, I believe, for the nurses was in Vancouver. And so let's look at some of the footages for that.